children at work. 200 million of them around the world. It contradicts a basic human instinct to protect and care for children. Born out of poverty and desperation. Eradicating child labour in the 21st century is a challenge to consumers, aid agencies and business too.
It can make a difference to the lives of people around the world.
There are signs that, with action, it is being reduced.
You can see the freedom, you can realize the freedom now.
Malawi in Southeast Africa is a country of over 15 million people. It is amongst the world's poorest and most densely populated nations. It's not so much its people, but its economy that's developed an addiction to tobacco.
Tobacco is our green gold. Without tobacco, we don't exist.
Its tobacco industry accounts for about 70% of export revenues. Up to 2 million Malawians are dependent upon it for their income. But in a country where employing children under the age of 14 is a criminal offence, it is estimated that over 78,000 children work on tobacco estates across the country. Follow the road to Malawi's capital, Lilongwe, and you'll find some of them. The children here work hard for little money.
That's when manja 130. Idali wawa. Then chilora mapira 5 kologo weruka so 5 kologo ya madzulo.
Ntchito ya fodya niyolemera kwambiri ndipo na size yanga ine sitani siyenera kwenikweni.
They face the prospect of green tobacco sickness or nicotine poisoning. Headaches, stomach pain, coughing and breathlessness are clear and present dangers for these children.
Ndikamagwira ntchito ya fodya nthawi zambiri ndimava kutsokomola nthupi. Ndimatsokomola.
Any work regarding tobacco is hazardous because the smell itself as regards to health of a child is dangerous.
Working with tobacco is not the only risk for these children. They are required to work with powerful chemicals, with little or no training or supervision. We spoke to 14-year-old Alila. She was the victim of a chemical accident whilst working on a tobacco estate.
Mene ndaire ngozi nkufama kwa lazi. Tekanya mozi kubuva mankwala. Ndeyira atsakuka nonigwera nkuru. Mimba munkawa wa zedi. Ura akalimba na ura azedu la marumbu. Nebasi ananigwera nkuru. La nena uri nisagalo eso nchiroyo. Nisire bomwe. La nena uri nisagalo eso nchiroyo. Nisire bomwe. Nimaoza uri nusamavile woifuwa mnyamulitsa mankwala nango nango.
It is estimated that 12% of tobacco child labourers are injured whilst at work. Nobody knows the exact figure, and the injuries can affect them for life.
If you're working in agriculture and you're exposed to pesticides, that's bad enough for an adult. But if you're a small child, you know, your system is smaller, it's less able to bear the damage that's done, and it can then make them effectively unemployable as adults because their health is so damaged. children who were child labourers, that didn't get a chance to go to school, whose health was damaged, then end up relying on their own children to earn an income because they're unable to work.
Oh, sorry. Don't show the car when I'm driving.
Underage workers aside, tobacco remains big business in Malawi.
So you can see some of the trucks that are carrying tobacco. All these are carrying tobacco. So going to the auction. Tobacco industry is very central to Malawi's economy. Last year, Malawi realized $433 million as foreign exchange earnings from tobacco. Tobacco also contributes about 25% of our tax base.
Malawi's most recent growing season produced 215 million kilos of tobacco. International tobacco manufacturers do not have contracts with Malawian growers, just with the suppliers here on the auction floor. The major tobacco companies say they don't want to buy tobacco that has been produced using child labour. But the way the supply chain is set up makes it very difficult for them to tell if children have been involved.
You can sell as an individual, and some sell through intermediate buyers who are illegal buyers. So to trace where the tobacco has come from is indeed very difficult.
With so many links in the supply chain, tracing the smaller tobacco growers and the underage children they might be using is even harder.
The monitoring is pretty difficult for Malawi. We don't have enough financial resources to ensure that we police every farmer, and we cannot go to every village, every household, because we are talking over more than maybe 2 million growers.
70% of the world's child labourers work in agriculture. Much of it unregulated, under-the-radar production. But big business can take action.
If they want long-term, good quality, sustainable production that's competitive, that's of quality, that's world-class, you need world-class working conditions to produce those goods. And you don't produce them by subcontracting. There's no regulation where children are likely to be included in the workforce. This is about promises the global community made to the world's children.
With that promise in mind, a foundation, the ECLT, the Eliminating Child Labour from Tobacco Growing Foundation, was set up to establish a permanent infrastructure to address the issue of child labour in tobacco growing. Chanthantu Primary School is funded by the ECLT. They are partners with a group of tobacco companies, including British American Tobacco, Philip Morris, Imperial Tobacco, and Japan Tobacco.
One of the main causes of child labour are the issues of household necessities, like lack of food security, lack of water and sanitation, lack of quality education. So if the communities around are not secure in terms of food, they will normally send their children to work in the farms around here so that to complement their food security at the household level.
This project aims to get child labourers out of the fields and into education. And it seems to be working.
We had a survey in 2006 in this area. We saw that the extent of child labour was 57%. And then throughout the years we have worked in this area, we have managed to reduce that on the overall to 19%.
13-year-old Atifa used to work full-time in a local tobacco estate.
zolembera ndiye namba school baja ndiye ananithandizaso mujeni shimanga ndagwisa chimanga chijani gula uniform kumabwera kuno ku school panopa ni standard 6 nikhoza kwauza kuti inuyo kuli bwino ngati inuyo musazike koma kumene mugwira ntchitoko.
Atifa is one of the lucky ones. There are some children who have been left with no other options.
You know, we are challenged with a lot of issues. HIV/AIDS is another issue. You find children are fatherless, motherless, they are orphans, what we call child-headed households. And then the children look after their fellow children. I mean, whom do you blame? You can't blame anybody. It's nature.
But Malawi remains one of the world's poorest nations. And child labour is endemic to Malawian culture.
Vana vamba nthandiza ntchito kumunda. Varipo 6. Ndiye pogwira ntchito na vanawo nimbafuna kuti iwonso vazidziwa ntchito kuti kutsogoloko iwonso vazidziwa kuti makolo ambagwira tere ntchito kusukulu ava vakhala muulimi ndekuti azanthandiza mntchito zoulima.
Things are improving, but in a country where over 80% of people depend upon the tobacco industry, things cannot change overnight.
We hope by maybe the end of 2015, most of the children will be withdrawn from the farms. So we feel as a ministry, we have to intensify our efforts to ensure that children are not found in the tobacco estates.
The challenge for business is huge.
Child labour is a very complex issue, and no individual actor, whether it's a company or any other organisation, can solve it on its own. It's joined-up action that's going to make a difference. Well, healthy and happy communities are really what we're after. Finding a campaign that really was at the hearts of what our consumers and customers and people around the world want to change, and and to really have that platform to campaign on and to eradicate that and to prevent that in the future.